Oh, look, it's never easy when you have to drop a player, and let alone as the captain. And this hasn't been done for over 30 years. From my perspective, I'd like to focus on the good things that Daly did for Queensland.
Hello everyone and welcome to a Origin 2 special edition of Queenslander this week. My name's Peter Basolda, sitting in the chair for Adam Jackson. We'll hear from Adam throughout the program. He is in camp with the Maroons, but as always joined by Darren Lockyer and Wally Lewis. How are you, gentlemen?
Very well, Salty. Very well.
Salty, welcome aboard.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And what's Jacko's input?
Well, I think it's the buffet in the mornings,
Okay.
maybe a swim at about 10.
Golf?
Yeah,
It's gotta
golf.
be
Golf, yeah.
He plays a fair golfer too.
Yeah, he is.
He's a fair golfer.
Which goes to show how much time he does spend on the golf course. Anyway, but we're here to talk all things Origin. Obviously, a couple of changes for Queensland ahead of Game 2 next week. Locky, might come to you first with this one. And we've heard a lot about Daly Cherry-Evans being left out of the team. You're part of the selection panel. Your thoughts on DCE?
Oh, look, it's never easy when you have to drop a player, and let alone as the captain. And this hasn't been done for over 30 years. And I think that was New South Wales that did that mid-series. So it's obviously a huge call. I think, from my perspective, I'd like to focus on the good things that Daly did for Queensland. And, I think at this point in time, we felt that the team needed to go in a different direction to get an outcome or a result that we need right now. So it's obviously disappointing for Daly, and it's not an easy decision that's made, but it's been made in the best interest of the team.
I'm sure we all feel very sympathetic to him, but when the series is on the line, when you're one game down and a decision has been made, you've just got to basically go with it. Certainly there's been a lot of people that will have already started saying, 35 years of age, was that the reason for it? Well, there's probably a whole list of other reasons without being unfair to him, but I've got to say that the series must be kept alive and desperate measures need to be taken. Just on DCE, before we move on to talk about those that will be in the team for next week, I mean, you've both recognised just the impact that he has had on this team over the last number of years as captain, a couple of memorable series wins, so he can walk away now with his head held very high. Oh, without a doubt. And there was, in his early days, there was talk that he potentially didn't belong in that environment, but he's, completely proven it the other way. He's got a great record, and he's obviously played at a high level for a long time. And, I think that's what I'd sort of like to take out of this is the positives that Daly did in his State of Origin career and what he did for Queensland. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Locky. And remembering back to when he was first appointed, there were people that were critical straight away. He hadn't given him a game to prove himself, and boy, didn't he go on to some wonderful things in charge of the Queensland, or playing in the Queensland team, and also leading the Queensland team around. It's certainly he's one of those guys that you really do appreciate his performances. Yeah, absolutely. When you go through the number of Queensland captains that have captained the state, right from Arthur Beetson, who did it in 1980, yourself, Wally, did it 30 times, captaining Queensland. Cameron Munster is now the 16th captain of the Maroons. And it goes to show just how he has grown, not only as a player, but as a person through his NRL career. Yeah, he's done very well. I think he's matured wonderfully as a player. Playing when he first stepped into the Queensland side, there were people that questioned his appointment. That didn't last too long at all, and he became an integral part of that side, and certainly one that will play another very important role next game. We'll talk more about Cameron and the captaincy a little bit later on, but now he's got a new halves partner, Locky, and Tom Dearden, who gets his chance to shine in the number 7 jersey for Queensland.
Well, he's earned an opportunity, and he's, I think what we all know about Tom is he's a competitor. He'll play the game. He'll, defensively, he'll do what he needs to do. He'll be aggressive in that, but he'll also be aggressive with the football. And I think that's probably what, at the moment, I think that's what Billy's looking for is just guys that have got the footy in their hand, want to run the ball and ask questions to the defence, because I think. Game 1 and last year's series, we're probably just not asking enough questions in the defence.
A run threat, so important, isn't it? We've got that Queensland with both halves, being able to run the ball. Yeah,
certainly, and that's going to be needed desperately throughout the course of the game.
As far as Tom is concerned, obviously, when he has started before, it's been in the 6 in place of Cameron Munster. How do you think that they'll complement each other now in 6 and 7? Probably got to throw Qlder in there as well with being the fullback as well.
Yeah, look, obviously Tom's been in the system for a while, so Cam and Tom know each other pretty well, and Kalen for that matter, and obviously Harry playing at 9, they all know each other pretty well, and I think he's got the longer boot on him, so he might do. He predominantly did the long kicking in game 1 too. I think he had more kick meters than Daly. Yeah. But so I think they'll work out who's doing what in the kicking department. I reckon the rest of it will look after itself. They'll just play their natural game and play what's in front of them.
Yeah, I agree, Locky, and there'll be a challenge put to the forwards that if he's in charge of the kicking game, you need to be able to have plenty of room to put that kicking game into motion. And I've got to say that the big boys up front, they're the ones that they face the challenge, and certainly do need to dominate the battle between the New South Wales pack and their own.
All right, let's talk about the forwards then, and a couple of changes there with Kurt Capewell confirmed that he is starting in the back row. Trent Liero will wear the number 13. That means Paddy Carrigan will come off the bench. We'll talk about him in just a moment, but get both of your thoughts, particularly on Kurt Capewell, whose form has been magnificent this year for the Warriors.
Well, the Warriors in general have been playing well, and when you're winning games regularly, there's a lot of good habits in that team, and Capewell's always had good habits, so it's a credit to him that he's found his way back in this team, and I think it's getting that experience, but also I think there's an element here of Billy looking to get a bit more impact off his bench. So Paddy Carrigan going back to the bench doesn't mean he's been dropped. That just means he's changed his role in the game, but it will be equally important.
Yeah, the rotation, and it's going to play a vital role throughout the course of it. I agree with you there, Locky. And Capewell, I've enjoyed watching him play throughout his career. He's just a performer. He never gives up. He has a little bit of responsibility on his shoulders each and every game that he plays, and I think this one will be a little bit more important than some of those previous ones, and he'll have plenty of support from teammates.
It's snuck up on us, hasn't it? This is his 12th origin for Kurt.
He's the ultimate reliable player. Like, he's a bit of a Mr. Fix-It from the perspective of, those back rows that can play in the centres are so valuable, because if you get an injury to an outside back, you can just move Capewell to a centre and know he's going to do a job for you defensively. If he had to go to the centres and mark Crichton or Mitchell, you'd still be confident he'd do his job. Yeah. And that's, it's a credit to him. Yeah,
very few people are able to do that extremely well. They can do it confidently, but I agree with you, Locky. He's going to have plenty of support from teammates who have that trust in him.
Speaking of trust, Wally, there's a fair bit of trust going into Trent Liero now for him to start the game, and he's done it week in, week out for the last couple of seasons, wear that number 13 jersey for the Melbourne Storm. He's done it so well.
And I thought he was very good in game 1. Yeah. Again, he's coming from a club where there's a lot of good habits in their game, defensively and offensively, and he has an offload in him as well too, which, if you can get those away at this level under fatigue, they're important, and they give you an opportunity for the likes of a Munster or a Ponga to do something off the back of that. So, again, I think Trent's earned his position there after a really impressive debut.
Yeah, Trent's done very well. He's plays week in, week out with a coach that expects a little bit from him and doesn't take any poor performances. So I think that we can rest quite comfortably in the trust that he'll get out there and want to make sure that the payment to his club coach is as painful as possible in the interstate series.
Aggression has been a word that's thrown around and dominating New South Wales in the middle, and that includes when the likes of Spencer Leniu comes on the field. We know what he brings. We've already spoken about Pat Carrigan coming off the bench. We know Lindsay Collins can do it so well, and there's probably another element to the bench as well in the role that Kurt Mann can play as well, because he's played just about every position in the forwards for Canterbury. Do you feel that there's a little bit more aggression in the mix as far as this Maroons pack is concerned?
I think if you look at game one, there was penalties early, there was drop balls. They never really got into a rhythm. So aggression's obviously a big part of it. But at the same time, you've got to build fatigue, or you've got to break down the opposition. To do that, you've got to hold the football, complete your sets. So if they do that, then it allows those players, in particular, that are coming off the bench, like your Nano, like your, Carrigan, and potentially Mann when he gets on there. But depends on what position. But if you build fatigue into that defensive line, those guys can actually do something.
Yeah. I don't think they'll outslug the opposition here, but they might outrun them and outwork them. That's been the point of their game that's gained them selection in this side. It's been fantastic, their club performances, and I think they're going to be pretty excited about the opportunity to repeat that at the highest level. And when they go out and do that, inspiration comes very quickly.
You're both captain Queensland. If Queensland is forced to kick off from the 25th, 30th minute, do you kick off to Spencer this time?
Look, I don't think Bill will bow to what the media or people think he should do. No. He'll do what he thinks best for the team. So it's again, I think it's just a coincidence that they didn't kick that side, because the two times they kicked over to the left, it didn't work for them, and that's why they changed it up. So I think at the end of the day, Bill will do what's best for the team.
Yeah, I agree with you, Locky, and that it's given plenty of people, a little bit of a smart aleck attempt to bring that point up. I don't think it plays any part in it at all.
That hasn't happened through Origin from south of the border, has it? Well, since 1980,
that's north of the border, right? But certainly that's going to be something that's swept under the carpet. I don't think there's going to be any thought whatsoever.
Kurt Mann on debut. We haven't spoken too much about him as of yet. He's been just a terrific player now for quite some time, and you can argue he's never played better.
No, well, again, he's coming from a club or a team that's got winning habits, and he's been a big part of their performances, and he's evolved himself over the years. He used to be Mr. Fix-It, where he could play any position, but now he's got himself into a point where he's a genuine player that creates opportunities for his team. So well done to him. He was in the squad in game one, but he's got a spot in the 17, and I think everyone's excited to see how he goes. Yeah,
and I think he's excited too. He's got an opportunity, and he's got that chance now to be able to take it and make the most of it. And certainly he'll have the full confidence of teammates around him.
Hailing from Winton, so it's another member of this Queensland team that has come from a regional area of the state. You look through and they come from far and wide, so won't they be celebrating in Winton?
They will, and I think the common denominator you get with these, I was born in Brisbane, so I don't class myself, even though I came from Roma, I don't sort of class myself as born and bred out there, but they bring a work ethic. Because that's just how they're built in Queensland country. They work hard. Obviously, he's finessed his skills over the years, involved himself into the player he is, but he'll bring that attitude of, I'm not going to let you down. Yeah,
he'll have plenty of determination, and the one thing that we've seen from the boys from the country over the decades of State of Origin football is that there's no excuses offered. They produce their best. If it's good enough on the night, well, they'll celebrate at the end of it. If it doesn't work, well, they'll be extremely disappointed and very determined to achieve success the next time they go around.
He reminds me of some players that have played for Queensland over the years that you just know, okay, regardless of what will be asked of him on the night, and you never know what it can be. Obviously, Billy will have his plans with the coaching staff of how they'll use Kurt, but that's if everything goes to plan. But he can just be called upon just to do pretty much anything. But there's been players that have done that job. I mean, Kalen's done it in recent times. Cooper Cronk did it. DCE did it early on. But there's been plenty of others throughout the history of Origin. A couple of your teammates too. You think of say an Ian French coming off the bench or something like that. Wally would just get on and do a job for the state.
Yeah, they do it wonderfully as well. They're not looking for massive pats on the back, and that's usually the credit that I've got to give those guys is that they're just all-round performers. They go out there and they provide wonderful examples of their play and show why they deserve to be selected in the side and make the most of it. And quite often, it draws applause from the crowd and certainly is very deserved.
Yeah, they're not big in size, but big in heart.
Yeah, we wish him all the very best on debut next week, Kurt Mann. All right, we've touched on Cameron Munster. So he is the 16th captain of Queensland. I spoke to Harry Grant earlier today and said, do you think he'll change anything? He said, no, he shouldn't change anything. I'm more talking about his persona and still being the pest, the larrikin and so forth. But I've got a feeling that Cameron is really going to relish that C next to his name.
I think it will. It'll have to have some change to him because this is a big responsibility. I think he might carry himself a little bit different in training, but I think he'll. I think when it comes to the game, I think it'll bring the best out in him.
Yeah, I agree, Locky. I think he'll lead by example. We've become used to seeing little bits that are different of his play, and I don't think he'll change the style of the game that he plays because he is and can be so creative. But he's one of the guys that is a vital member of our side, and he's got that tag over the years by performances that have been way above most people in Origin history. So it's a situation that he's got the chance now, and I think that just because he's got the C in his name, I think we're not going to see a problem issue for him.
I'll go to both of you on this one, starting with you, Locky. If your phone was to ring and it's Cameron Munster, just to say, hey, Lockie's a former captain, what advice you got for me? What would you say to him?
Oh, well, first of all, congrats. You deserve it. Also comes with responsibility. So I think just encourage your team to get their prep, nail your prep, get that right. And then on game night, lead with your actions. Words they're there from time to time, but at the end of the day, it's what your actions do on game night will be the most important thing.
Yeah, in all the games that I've watched him play, particularly the ones for Melbourne Storm, he's been the guy that's led by example. His play, his creativity has certainly been something that's excited those around him and inspired those around him. So it's something that I don't think is going to have much of a shock role for him. When he is the creative player in a team, that sort of has a fair bit of leadership attached to it, and I think that will continue this time.
I mean, you were two magnificent captains, clubland, state and country as well. When you both found out, and it was similar, different circumstances for both of you, different stages of your career. Wally, you were very young when you were named as captain of Queensland. How did it feel, and particularly as you went on throughout your career playing for Queensland? You got to say some of those famous games, like in '89, for instance. I think the '87 series was a real special one. But how did it feel for you to be able to lead that team down the tunnel at the Old Lane Park or the SCG throughout your career?
Oh, it was always exciting. The pride that's there is enormous, and I think you don't change your game too much. You just display the same sort of form that you always have, and try and sort of show why it was that you were appointed in that position. And I think that that's, and I'm sure Locky will say the same, that when he played, he led by example, which was an example that excited players around and helped them to live up to the standard that earned them selection. And if it's something that has been part of our game in the build-up, why change it? You're not going to change it and play a completely different game. You just display the same sort of form that got you there in the first place. Every now and then there may be a decision that you'll need to make a pretty big call on, but it's other than that, I've got to say that it's just playing your natural game. And if at some stage you think the team needs to be inspired just a little bit, we'll try and do something that will make them want to step up to the mark.
All right.
Yeah, it's obviously a huge honour, and my first time I captained Queensland was 2001. Alfred recently retired, gone to England, and Gordy injured his neck. So I was sort of, it all happened pretty quick for me. I remember I was captain of Game 3, and Alf came back from England for Game 3 in 2001. And I said to him, I said, mate, do you want your room back, Skipper? He said, no, you're right, you can have it. But that, so it was a unique start for me. But I think similar to Wall, when you got the C beside your name, I think, everyone wants to win, but I think when you're the captain, you obviously, it influences. You probably want to win that touch more because the responsibility's on you. And so when the game's in the balance, it's up to you to step up and try and influence the outcome. Yeah,
that's right, Locky. And you probably think that there is that little bit of extra responsibility, and the leadership can inspire others. And I think we probably experienced that when we had great captains in front of us teaching us what to do. And when you see how successful it can be by that example, you kind of get excited by it, and you think, I might be exciting them, but I'm also exciting myself. And you inspire yourself to bigger and better performances, and then that leadership just becomes a very natural part of your game.
You both had so many defining moments as captain. Wally, for you, the try in Game 2.
In Game 2, 1989.
89.
Every time, yeah. And, funnily enough, I used to sort of think that the best thing I can do as a player is react like that, but as a captain, it's how I work with the rest of the players. And I used to watch Locky do it, lead by example and inspire the others into finer performances. And you rest pretty calm at the end of the day, but it's the job. That's why you were handed that position. And I'm sure Locky felt as proud as I did to have the captaincy handed over, and it makes you feel pretty proud, but it also adds that responsibility. You know that you've got to, at tough times, you've got to respond and try and inspire those.
Locky, I look back so many moments once again in your career as captain, but you go to Game 3, 2006, and is it right you were told beforehand that there'd be a couple of Petro was involved, yourself, and there was Steve Price was a third, that if you lost that game, that was it?
Yeah, Dad's Army. Because if we lost 06, it was the first time, any team had lost 4 series in a row. So, that's not a record you want to have on your resume. And so it was a pretty, sliding doors moment in my career, that series. And I didn't beat 7 players to the try line like Wald did in '89. I just picked up a loose ball. I think I had to run around Luke Bailey. But it was. I think that was what I learned from that series, is that that hard work will get its rewards at some point, and that's what we did that series. We were down 1-0. After Game 1, we came back. We won Game 2 pretty well in Brisbane, and then Game 3. We were down, with 10 minutes to go, and we were able to fight our way back with 2 tries late. Yeah. And I happened to be in the right place at the right time, and I put that down to just working hard. And, I guess from that point on, the rest is history. Obviously, we went through a really good period for Queensland. But I probably, it's probably one of the proudest or best moments of my career in that jersey, because that was what I think Queensland spirit was about. When we knew the game was in, there's less than 10 minutes to go. We're down by 10 points, but we found a way to win, and that was really pleasing.
I always say that the try before yours, JT putting Brent Tate down the touchline is one of the most important tries in Origin history.
Well, you remember Adam Mogg's try too, Thurston's kick in the first half. Like that was. But I agree with you. Like if it wasn't for Thurston making that break, my try doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
All right, great memories from two terrific captains of Queensland. Okay, right now on Queenslander, thanks to our friends at Tab, it's time for the big call. So what have you guys got this week? And you tell me, I've got to come up with a big call as well.
Yeah, well...
You go first.
Well, we got the Cows are playing the Dolphins. That's up in Townsville.
That's right.
Dolphins are flying. Who are they? They're missing Hammer. And that's it, isn't it?
As far as Origin goes, but they're still missing a few with injury, no Max Platt.
Yeah. But Cowboys have lost a few to Origin.
Reece Robson, New South Wales.
I'm going to go... Katoa was outstanding last week, but I'm going to go Herbie Farmworth to score a hat-trick.
That is a big call.
Yeah.
A Herbie hat-trick. He'll go bananas.
Hat-trick. He'll go bananas, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Herbie goes
I was just going to go a double, but I thought that was playing it soft.
That's a mediocre call. All right. Wally?
Oh, a big call? Well, if it's a big call, there's only one game to give it to, and that's the Origin. We're about to see the Queenslanders, I think, inspired towards a wonderful victory by a New South Wales team that will have claimed to have already secured the title, and we're going to see one of those performances from the Maroons. On the streets, there's probably quite a considerable amount of people that are doubting Queensland's chances already, and that really has been the fuse that's been lit in previous years. Queenslanders react wonderfully to insults, and I think there's another one about to be lit.
All right. My big call, I was going to agree with both of you. Is that all right?
That's a soft way out. Come on, son.
I saved me Origin big call because we do it again next week before the game. So that's the only reason why I went to Clubland. But anyway, what do you got?
I'll go Thursday night footy.
Yeah.
I think Braden Trindle to lead a big Sharks win over the Dragons. I think that.
They would have been disappointed after they lost.
After they lost, I was going to say they're about to react. I've usually found if the Sharks get beaten, they get beaten, and there's not much in it at the end of the game. That was one of their poorer performances, and I think the coach will come down pretty heavily on them, and certainly they'll get to produce arguably their best performance of the season.
Well, on the flip side, the other mob got touched up by 50, so there'll be a reaction from them too, you would think.
Yeah, and there's always plenty of feeling in that one, so I'll go a Trindle double.
Trindle double, righto.
A Trindle double.
Right.
Is that a big enough call for you?
Well, he doesn't score a lot of tries.
No.
So a double, that's big.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how he goes. If he gets one, he might get another. Anyway, we'll see. Okay, let's talk a bit of club football. The Broncos, very good against the Titans. We'll touch on the Titans shortly. The Broncos, that was a much-needed performance against the Titans.
I would say a pressure relief performance and win. There was, obviously the black jerseys for the mental health cause. There was the Adam Reynolds 300th, playing at home, under a bit of pressure. The stage was set for them to perform, and they did that first half, so that was good to get that win, and hopefully puts a bit of fun back into going to work, because when you're losing it's not fun. So they go into a bye now. I think the key to the Bronx now is to try to back that performance up.
and it was disappointing. But on the street, I got asked by a few people about Michael Maguire. You know, this bloke is he surely can't be a good coach for our boys. Got to get rid of him already. And I'm thinking, boy, you jump to conclusions fairly quickly, and you're expecting him to take Rome in a day. So it was just remarkable how quickly that had set in.
You know, one thing on it, so it's that sort of competition where it's still the case after the round. Halfway through, the gap between fifth and last on the table is only 3 wins. It's only 3 wins. Yeah. It's that tight. You win a couple, and you mentioned about what Brisbane have got ahead. They've got, after the bye, 2 home games, but they're 2 big ones. Yeah. They play the Sharks and the Warriors in consecutive weeks. That'll tell us a fair bit. Yeah,
so it's a big month for them, yeah. You know, I think what we've been saying for a little while now, we've seen what they're capable of. You take the first half against the Bulldogs and the first half against Titans on the weekend. That's what they're capable of. The question is, how do they maintain that for 80 minutes and do it every week?
Big call to make too, isn't there? With by the time the Sharks game rolls around, Ben Hunt will be fit.
Yep.
So 3 to go. Yeah, well, either Pakes, Walters, or Hunt.
Well, that's obviously a question for Madge, but I think Pakes and Billy have been, they've been good, particularly on the weekend. I thought both of them were good. Billy, I think they've been complementing each other very well. So when Ben comes back, Madge has indicated he's going to 9. So it just depends on who partners him.
Yeah, and Peter, I've got to say, if there's a good problem to have, that's the one.
It is.
You'd certainly have preferences to take that on, and it'd be interesting to see how Madge works it as well. So it'll be a very interesting outcome.
Let's head down the M1 and the Titans. It's just it's a big concern. What's happening there, Wal?
I like Desi. Had some wonderful times on tour with him. He's a terrific fellow, very quiet guy. He's had some very difficult moments. He appeared as though he adjusted to the club quite quickly, and things were looking pretty good for him. But there have been some performances that, watching Des's reaction, it was quite obvious that he was not impressed one bit, and it's not going to be easy to get over things as quickly as he would like to, and it's going to be some tough times ahead, particularly if there's a player or two. They're starting to have a couple of injuries as well, which is going to be very difficult to get over.
Yeah, it's tough times for them. They've got a big game against Manly this week.
Yeah, well, Manly's got Daly. He wanted to prove a point. But I felt going into that game, Broncos-Titans, whoever lost that game, the blowtorch would be on. And so, look, it's been, I would say, frustrating for Des. We keep talking about this conundrum of the 5 players in the spine, but they can't keep them all fit and healthy anyway. So they're missing some strike players, and that's not helping his cause. But at the same time, I know I've been through it myself, when you go through a bit of a form slump and you've lost, you're losing more than you're winning. It takes your confidence away, it takes your fun away from what you're doing, and I feel like watching the Titans, they're just struggling for answers, and it would be tough going for Des at the minute.
And it's very sad. I probably thought that they would be going a lot better than what they are. Having Des there, he's one of those guys. Previous history, albeit at other clubs, have seen him increase the ability of the players. They start to produce finer performances and do so, quite regularly. This is a bit of a tough time, and he's not enjoying it. I can guarantee that.
No, not at all. We'll talk about the Dolphins in just a moment, but remiss of me, he's been waiting very patiently. Let's get an update from Maroons camp, and the usual host of Queenslander, Adam Jackson, joins us. What's the latest, Adam?
Well, it's been a busy few days for the Maroons to kick off this camp for Origin 2, including travelling here to Gympie for the Maroons annual regional fan day, something the Queenslanders do really well. They pick out a town across Queensland to come visit, to cheer them on ahead of an Origin match, and this time around it was Gympie's turn with hundreds of locals mobbing Billy Slater's men in what today was dubbed Tino Country. Tino Fasuamaleaui, the hulking Maroons forward, grew up in this region playing for the Gympie Devils and actually received a special presentation from his former primary school, Jones Hill State School here, giving him his old jersey back. Now, also as part of this visit, the Maroons used it to announce their new captain. Of course, with Daly Cherry-Evans not selected for this Game 2 encounter against the Blues, it means that Cameron Munster takes over as skipper. He spoke to us, reflecting back on his journey over the past 10 years, admitting that he was a bit of a larrikin, he had a bit of a troubled past, but now he's really matured and relishing that extra responsibility that Billy Slater has given him. Not just the captaincy is the change for Munster for Game 2, also lining up in the halves, a brand new halves combination with Tom Dearden. He spoke about that. He thinks they will mesh really well, even though there's a few doubts over their kicking game, how that will transpire in Origin 2. And also the Maroons have confirmed their squad 1 to 17. They originally announced the squad in alphabetical order, that 20-man team. So the few changes that you'll notice from Game 1, Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow was moved from the centres to the wing, so Val Holmes shifts into the centres. But the big changes come in the forward pack. Couple of surprises there. Significant reshuffle. Pat Carrigan goes to the bench. Also, Jeremiah Nene goes to the bench, paving the way for Kurt Catewell to start in the second row. And Trent Liero from the Melbourne Storm will start in that lock forward position, while Ezra Mann has been confirmed as the 18th man for the Maroons. As to what the next few days looks like for Queensland, they'll train on Wednesday and Thursday on the Sunshine Coast before flying to Perth to finalise their preparations for that must-win Origin encounter for the Maroons. And we'll have all the updates right here on 9 News and Wide World of Sports social media links throughout the day.
All right, thank you, Adam. Enjoying life with the Queensland Maroons. Now, the Dolphins touched earlier on the touch-up that they gave the Dragons last week. They've now scored 100 points in their last 2 games, either side of the bye. 56 against the Dragons, 44 points against the Bulldogs. They're in the 8 at the moment. Oh, boy, they're playing some good footy.
Yeah.
Some of the wins I've seen them have at Suncorp that we've covered, they look like a top 4 team. You know, they're brutal defensively and that's what they're doing. They're whacking teams in defence, and that's allowing their opposition can't get out of their half, and then they get the field position, and then they go on the attack. And like when you got Hammer there and Katoa playing the way he is, and you got Farnworth, there's points there, but they're laying a platform for those strike players with their defence.
Yeah, and it's been a standout feature, and I agree with you, Locky. It's been wonderful to watch them, and when you have a look at the guys that are coming up with those defensive plays, it just makes you admire them even more. It's been fantastic. So it'll be quite interesting to see how they go from here, but they really do appear as though they've got plenty of self-belief on show at the moment, and it's a wonderful style of game that they're playing. Just creativity in attack has been fantastic.
Like when Bostock nails.
Yeah.
Was he on debut, that Dragon, that winger?
Second game.
Oh, second.
Wasn't, yeah.
Well, jeez, he got whacked.
Hang on to this.
He got whacked by a winger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something else. I'm loving their bench. Josh Kerr, Mark Nichols.
Microwave man, he brings a bit of punch when he comes on. He's got a really quick play the ball. He bends the line, quick play the ball. So, you know, I guess those teams, a bit like I guess what Billy's looking at for Game 2. You know, just having that bench that can bring impact makes a big difference.
Yeah, and I think the coach has shown very good judgment in changing his players around from the bench, bringing them on, giving them a short rest, and then bringing them back on again, and they play such a vital role in the game. It's been a wonderful exhibition of coaching.
You've got to remember, no Tom Gilbert or Tom Flegler.
No.
No Saifidi.
No Saifidi.
Yeah.
So there's 3 guys that would have a massive impact on their, and they're already performing the way they are.
And their 2 centres, you mentioned Herbie earlier, but I'm liking what Jake Avarillo delivers.
Yeah, Katoa as well.
Yeah.
He's been fantastic. Yeah.
Avarillo, he did a Munster the other night. He just was dancing around. Next minute they all went to sleep, and then he ran through them.
Bang.
I might change my big call. You've gone Farnworth to go 3 tries. I might go just have a relay to score 3.
You can't
I
have
might
two.
attack the
You
other
can't have
side.
two. It says
Change it.
one big call. You got to change it.
No, I'll change it after Thursday. We'll see what happens Thursday night. Have a little bit each way. But Wally, just finally, you did mention Isaiya Katoa there. It's hard to believe that he is still a kid. He is still 21 years of age.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I think the most wonderful thing that I've sort of noticed watching him, he's calm, very cool, and when things you might have 1 or 2 things go the way that he had planned, but there's no panic. He'll sort of settle back and put another play on, and the way that he's been involved in the play, I think, has been wonderful to watch, particularly with a guy of not so much experience, and it's fantastic to see the way that he's gone on to bigger and better things, and I think we're due to see some great things ahead for this young man.
Just a shame he's not a Queenslander.
Yeah.
Well, he came through the Penrith system, and he's like a Nathan Cleary, clone. Plays exactly like him.
Yeah.
There's players in our game that can go to the defensive line and draw the man extremely well. Nathan's one of them. Isaiah's there. I can see it in Locky Galvin. There's just talented players that have this ability to go to the line, stop the defense in their tracks, and just that's what creates the space around them. And his kicking game. He's a player, and look, his rep career, unfortunately, will be hampered by Nathan.
Yeah, I have that old saying that I love saying, that when you are in a position like that, you try and create doubt in the mind of the defender. That's easier said than done, particularly for a young man of his age to be displaying it so wonderfully and successfully. It promises extraordinary things for the future. At the interstate level, I hope the hell they don't work, or wherever they're going to be in the representative level showed up. But certainly he has been a player that's impressed everybody that's watched.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, we are out of time for this week's edition of Queenslander. Thanks very much for having me, Wally and Locky. It's been fun.
You're welcome.
It's been a great debut.
Yeah, thank you. I hear that while we were recording this, Adam's just gone straight back out on the golf course, and he's working hard, but he'll be back when he's not on Queensland camp duties with 9 News.
Okay.
Yeah, so we look forward to that. Enjoy your week, folks. Bring on Origin 2. This has been another episode of Queenslander. Back again next week.